Okay, so for this problem, let's go focus, phones away, all that stuff, right? What do I gotta do first, Sammy Joe, to do this problem? What?
Oh, that?
That one, the one up there, yeah, the one you were supposed to be working on. This is like the last three, or what, 7, 8, 9, no, is it 7, 8, 9 on your on your homework? What's 10 over 26?
The zero there.
That's theta. Yeah, that's the sine of theta. So it'd be 5/13. Okay, how about cosine of theta?
It's the opposite over, adjacent.
Adjacent over hypotenuse. What's my adjacent side? You don't know. Why? Why don't we know? Jack, how'd you get that number?
A squared plus b squared equals c squared.
Right, you have to do Pythagorean first, right? That's what I was asking. What do you have to do first? You gotta find that adjacent side. You need to use Pythagorean. Okay? So you can get, sine. That's the only one you can get. Or you can get, what's its reciprocal? What's it called? What's the reciprocal sine? Cosecant, thank you. We can get those two. Okay? We need the other four. In order to get the other four, we have to get that adjacent side finished, all right? So a squared, we'll call 10 the a. And the missing side, the b. And our hypotenuse is the 26, right? So what's 10 squared? 100, right? What's 26 squared? Is it 676?
Yeah.
So subtract 100. And that's 576. What's the square root of 576? 24, right? So this missing side is 24. Okay? So, let's move this down. See if we can move that stuff down so we can answer this. All right, so sine of theta, Sammy Joe told us already, it's 10 over 26, which reduces to 5/13. So here's what I would have done before that even. I would have divided all these by 2. So then I don't have to worry about reducing when I write my fractions. They're already in reduced form. Okay? But you don't have to do that. You can do it like we did here with the 10. We just divided both by 2. Oops. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, so we just flip it. Okay? Cosine, remember, is ka, which is adjacent 12 over hypotenuse 13. Secant of theta is the reciprocal of cosine, so that's 13/12. Tangent, TOA, opposite 5 over adjacent 12. I don't want the fraction answers. Decimal answers. I want fraction answers. Okay? So those are the 6 answers. So that's how you do numbers 7, 8, 9 on your homework. on that. So don't give me decimal answers, okay? I should have 6 fractions for those. Some of you gave me 1 answer. Okay? You gotta find the missing side using Pythagorean theorem. And then you write your 6 fractions. Any questions on that now? Does that make better sense? Okay? Let's go ahead and do these other ones, and then we'll go over the homework. It says use a trigonometric function to find the value of x. Okay?
One meeting.
Did you do your homework? What about you, Scott?
I didn't do like.
Let's see it. All right. Go ahead and set that one up while I'm checking these guys off for their homework. Why do you need it? So you can't look on Canvas and do it on another sheet of paper? No, you're not that responsible? Guess not. But you're tougher than that. You're a sissy. No, it's not.
Yeah.
The help.
All right. So they gave me this angle, 45. So which side is the x? Opposite, straight across, right? Over hypotenuse. What's opposite over hypotenuse? Sine, right? So sine of 45 degrees equals opposite x over hypotenuse 60. Okay? So that's how they wanted you to do it. All right? I would have do it a different way because I know the answers to the sides when I have a 45, 45, 90. Okay? Now, what I was talking to you guys about yesterday is to turn this into a proportion. So how do you solve a proportion? Cross multiply. So 1 times x is x equals 60 times the sine of 45. Okay? So using the calculator for that, $60 sine of 45 is 42.426. Okay? I guess it's 42.4. Now here's how I would do this. I know this is a 45, 45, 90 right triangle. It's one of those special ones. The hypotenuse is always one of the sides times the square root of 2. So what I would do, since I know the hypotenuse, I would divide by the square root of 2. And I would rationalize it. And here's how I would write my answer. I would write it like that. If I put that in my calculator, 30 times the square root of 2, you see it's the same answer, 42.4. Okay? So I would not, if it's a 45, 45, 90 or a 30, 60, 90, I would not use a trig function to find it. I would use my memorization I know of those two triangles. If it's a different angle, anything other than 45, 30, or 60, then I'd have to do it, like they asked me to do it. Okay? Either one I would accept if you had a problem like that on your quiz. Does that make sense? Cool, pay attention. All right, so we got a helicopter that's 45. So we got some helicopter. Okay. That's, oh, I need a little thing there. These got 2 of these, right? Under it.
Yeah.
That's my prop there, and here's my prop back here somewhere. All right. Anyway, how high is it? 4,500 feet? I want to make sure. Oh, and then a plane. Okay, so we got the plane that's way above it, right? All right, so the plane, I guess I should try to move this down. We'll put this down here. Guess I don't know if I need that thing or not, but anyway, I'll get rid of this stuff for now. So then I got a plane up here. Whoa, that's a bad one. Trying to make it, I guess it's okay. So we'll do, then we got some kind of plane. I know it was the same one. All right. Something like that, okay? So the difference, all right, now we're talking, the ground's down here. All right, so from here to here is 4,500. And from here to here is 12,000, right? Isn't that what it said? Make sure I read that right. Yeah. The angle of depression from the plane to the helicopter is 27.6. Remember, that's 27.6. So down here is 27.6. Okay? What is the distance between the two to the nearest 100 feet? Okay, so distance, are we thinking straight from the plane to the helicopter, or are we thinking land distance? That's what you're not sure of, right? Which ones you guys want to do? Straight from the plane to the helicopter or land distance? Straight? Right, so we're looking for the hypotenuse. Okay? So what's this in my triangle? What's this distance? You guys understand it's 12,000 minus 4,500? What is that, 7,500? Okay, so what trig function would I use? Here's my angle, my point of reference. I got opposite side and hypotenuse. Sine, right? So I go sine of 27.6 equals 7,500 over X. So if I make it a proportion and cross multiply, it'd be X times the sine of 27.6 equals 1 times 7,500. And I divide by the sine of 27.6. All right, so whatever that is. So 16,000 feet, 16,200. We round it a little bit. I don't know if the answers were on here somewhere or not, I guess not. Okay? So that's the type of things you were doing last night on the worksheet, right? So let's go over the worksheet if I can find it. Somewhere I have the answers. There they are. All right. Scott Reynolds, what'd you get for number 1? This is going over the worksheet we did for homework. You had 0.8. That fraction is 4/5. That's correct. Then you had 0.6. That fraction is 3/5. That's correct. And you had 1.3 repeating. That fraction is 4/3. That's correct. Any questions? Okay. I want the fractions though. John, did you get that right?
Yeah.
All right. Andrew, what'd you get for number 2?
Wrong. I don't know how to do it.
You have answers.
You try next.
15 over 29.
Yeah, I did the thing.
Wow, you don't need to. They gave you the 3 sides, right? So we have this picture, Andrew, and everybody else. And this is 27, and this is 123, and this is 120, and here's theta. So what's the sine of theta, Andrew? Right, so what's opposite?
Yeah, 27.
Right,
123.
good. Now, 3 goes into all of those numbers. So I would have done this. Okay, so this answer would reduce if I divide, when I divide by 3, 9 over 41. Okay, so I like to do it beforehand, especially when I got those bigger numbers. Okay, so Andrew, what's cosine of theta? Good. Right, which reduces to? Good, 40 over 41. And tangent, finish it up, Andrew, good job. Right? Good. Any questions? Making sense? Okay, John Harris, number 3. What sine?
36 over 39.
Correct, that reduces to 12/13. What's, cosine, John?
15 over 39.
Right, that reduces to 5/13. And then last one, tangent,
36 over 15.
good, which is 12/5 when you reduce it. So when we have a quiz or test over this, I am expecting you to reduce those fractions, okay? Any questions on the third one? Okay, number 4. Again, it says use a trig function. I would not do that. Okay? It's one of these. $30, $60, $90s. Okay? Here's what I told you yesterday about a 30, 60, 90. The short leg, I would make 1. The hypotenuse is always twice as long, so I make it 2. The long leg is always the short leg 1 times the square root of 3. Or just the square root of 3. Okay? So, if this is a 6, what's the hypotenuse? 12. And what's the long leg? 6 radical 3. And that's what it was asking for, I think, for number 4, wasn't it? That's how I would do it. Okay? Now, those of you that did a trig function, I'll just do that for you. You're looking for this. Here's 60 they gave you, opposite and adjacent. So I do tangent of 60 equals x over 6. Okay? Which means if I cross multiply, turn it into a proportion at 6 times the tangent of 60. Okay? 6 tangent of 60, 10.4. So if you got that, you did it right. You're not wrong. But I wouldn't do it that way. That takes longer than just multiply 6 times the square root of 3 and just write it out. I will accept 6 times the square root of 3. I would prefer 6 times the square root of 3, actually. Does that make sense? Any questions? Why are we so tired, Ryan? All right, number 5. It's 30, 60 again. And you're given that information. Okay? So, here's what I would do. Again, it says use a trig function, but this is the long leg. So, on this number 4, I took the short leg and multiplied by the square root of 3 to get the long leg. So now I know the long leg, I'm going to get the short leg. So what do I do to go the other way? If I go this way, multiply by the square root of 3, what do I do to go this way? Divide by the square root of 3. Okay? So this would be 20. This would be 22 divided by the square root of 3. And again, what do we do to the short leg to get the hypotenuse? Always do what? Multiply by 2. So that's what I'm going to do here. What's 22 times 2? 44. Now, would I accept that answer, 44 over the square root of 3? No, I would want you to rationalize the denominator, right? So this is what I would have written. I would divide 44 by 3 if 3 would go into 44. But it doesn't, does it, Kennedy? Okay? Now, if you did what they asked, here's what you would have done. Okay? You knew that the this was a 30, that's the information they gave you. So you've got adjacent and hypotenuse, so you should have gone cosine of 30 equals adjacent 22 over hypotenuse x. So when we turn it into a proportion, cross multiplying x times the cosine of 30 equals 1 times 22, you end up going 22 divided by the cosine of 30 to solve for x. Okay, and that's not wrong. Okay, and that's what they were asking you. But like I said, I prefer doing it the other way, 25.4. So if you got 25.4, you did it correctly. What's 44 radical 3, or what's this 44 divided by the square root of 3? Same thing, right? Questions? All right, so number 6. We have a 45, 45. $91. Which side is the 7 radical 2? Hypotenuse. All right? Remember, on the 45, 45, I told you to make these ones, they're the same. And then the hypotenuse is always the length of the leg times the square root of 2. All right? So going from here to here, I go times the square root of 2. So what am I going to do going from here to here, the backwards way? Divide. So what's 7 radical 2 divided by radical 2? 7. So that's what I would do. All right, if we're doing what they asked, they gave us this, so that's opposite hypotenuse, so we go sine of 45 equals x over that. You know, if you do the cross multiplying, 1 times x equals 7 radical 2 times the sine of 45. So let's see what happens there. 7 square root of 2 times sine of 45. Good sign. Okay? Again, learning the special triangles, memorizing those makes trig life so much simpler. Okay? All right, number 10. A lot of you had questions on these. It says a water slide is 26 feet high. The angle between the slide and the water is 33.5 degrees. What is the length of the slide? All right, so 26 feet. We're looking for the length of the slide. The water and the slide's angle is 33.5. Which trig function you going to use? Sine, thank you. Because we've got our angle, opposite side over hypotenuse. Okay? What's the answer to that, Danny? Right, 47 feet. When you solve it. Again, you're going to end up dividing 26 by the sine of 33.5. Okay? Questions? Does that make sense? Yes, sir.
Why wouldn't you just like multiply 26 by 2 to get the hypotenuse?
If this was a 30-degree angle, I would.
So
It's gotta be 30 when that works.
a whole-
That has to be 60 when that works, yes. All right, just that special triangle. All right, number 11 says the surveyor stands 150 feet from the base of a viaduct and measures the angle of elevation to be 46.2. All right? So a viaduct's like a bridge. So the angle that he's looking up to the top is 46.2. He's 150 feet away from it. His eye level is 6 feet above the ground. What's the height of the viaduct? So, we're looking for this, but remember, the ground is here, right? So we've got 6 feet there. So what are you gonna have to remember to do? Add 6, okay? So this one, I've got the angle, which side's X? Opposite, and what side's the 150? Adjacent, so I'm gonna use what? Tangent, you guys with me? So it's not always sine, okay? It depends on the information you're given. Okay, so all you're gonna end up doing is going 150 times the tangent of 46.2. Grace, what'd you get? 11. Right. This answer, though, is 156. Right? But you gotta add that 6 for the answer to the problem. So if you got 156, you did everything right, you just forgot to add that extra 6 feet for his eye level. Okay? Making sense? Questions? Cole, you okay? Last one. We got a pilot of a helicopter measures the angle of depression to the landing spot to be 18. Right, so up here is the helicopter. That angle of depression to the landing spot is this one. 18.8, okay? He's at 1,640, his altitude, that's from the ground up, right? So the picture looks like this. What is the horizontal distance to the landing spot? This is horizontal, so they're doing this, not straight down to it. Okay? Now, if my angle of elevation out there is 18.8, inside my triangle, what's this one down here? 18.8. Sometimes kids will put the 18.8 in there. That's not correct. All right? So when you draw your picture, make sure you draw it correctly. So, coli, I'm looking for this black X right there. Which trig function will I use? Yeah, the X is adjacent. What's the 1640? Right, so what uses opposite and adjacent? Tangent, good. So tangent of 18.8 equals opposite over adjacent. Again, a lot of you are better if you do that and do proportions, especially when the X is in the bottom. So when you cross multiply, it's X times the tangent of 18.8 equals 1 times 1640. What do you got to do to get X alone? Divide by the tangent of 18.8. And What's that answer? Who got it? Anybody? No. Olivia? Olivia? Anybody? Ian? Good. 4,817. And that was meters, right? All right, so no homework tonight. Tomorrow, when you get in here, I'm gonna give you another worksheet to do in class. That's due before you leave. That's a bunch of these word problems.
You know what? I'm mad.